Muchachos y muchachas, what's going on, guys? So yes, I'm back. I took a little break last week as I am wrapping things up with this big project that I've been working on that will be presented to you. But there were some things that stirred up on the interwebs that gained a lot of controversy that I wanted to talk about. One of them being the United Nations. And I mean, when I hear the United Nations, the connotation that I get is pretty negative, okay? I don't think you can say the United Nations and generally get a positive connotation nowadays from the mass public. But reason being is because they have had these really global, I guess, type of conspiracies and agendas that they're trying to push into the youthful space. And that was the exact thing that garnished the controversy. So there was some memo that was like a publication that got published on International Women's Day. And one of the, I guess, principles that they were trying to push for is decriminalization of, you know what, between an adult and you know who. You know what the sad thing is? I bet I don't even have to finish the sentence. I don't even have to finish the blanks, fill in the blanks. You already probably know what I'm talking about. But they've done this before, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. So with that being said, hold on to your butts, secure your wigs, stay right there. We're going to go through it. Really quick, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Health with Natalie. Collagen may do more than simply help turn back the clock on how your skin looks. The latest research suggests that it may also help with building muscle and losing fat when combined with exercise. This is why I highly recommend trying it out for yourself. It is designed to help combat some of the most visible signs of aging, bringing back a youthful glow and support healthy weight management. It uses groundbreaking formulas that combine 5 critically important types of collagen, including collagen peptides from grass-fed pasture-raised cows in one easy-to-mix scoop. Visit healthwithnatalie.com. That's healthwithnatalie.com, or use the link in my description below to get 51% off my favorite collagen. Plus, be sure to use my link in the description because every purchase using that link gets a free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, as well as a new e-report titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin completely free. That's healthwithnatalie.com. All right, so let's actually take a look at what this whole push was about. This was actually posted by a branch of the United Nations, as I mentioned in my intro, but it's more than what they're posting, it's what they're calling for, right? So they do this a lot in facades where they want people to think of one thing or they're saying one thing, but really they mean the other. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, this again was posted, I believe, International Women's Day. Look at the headline here. New legal principles launched on International Women's Day to advance decriminalization efforts. Okay, we're just going to jump right to it. I'm not going to read you guys this entire thing because really you're going to get the gist of what they're trying to call for. Before we do any of that, I want you guys to take notice of the logo of the UNAIDS website. If you guys, I'm not sure if the pinwheel even reaches, but if you guys see this like rainbow pinwheel, that is their agenda 2030 that they always push for. Okay, so you know that this is a global agenda going on. Okay, so this starts off with some self-accreditation. There's this whole push that, oh, look, the ICJ, the International Committee of Jurists, and the OHCHR, we're basically making this call out to decriminalize things in the name of human rights. And you can see here, I'm just going to read this sentence here, and then I'm going to jump straight to the content. It says right here, the March 8th or 8 March principles, as they're called, lay out human rights-based approach to laws criminalizing conduct in relation to sex, drug use, the HIV, that and reproductive health, and homelessness and poverty. Okay. The reason why I highlighted the approach to laws, you know, criminalizing that whole thing is because you can almost guarantee that the UN is going to push for this next. Okay, this is what their next agenda is. Let's make lesser of these crimes. Let's make lesser of these egregious things that are happening. My personal opinion, that's the way I interpret it. But when you see things like this, you can almost guarantee that's what they're going to push for next. Okay, as I said, let's just jump straight to the content. You guys can see here, Principle 16. This is one of the excerpts from that PDF where they're talking about consensual sex conduct. Okay, that's what they're talking about. And I'm going to read this word for word for you. Well, the first part is very transformers and binary and blah, 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 that type of language. But it's the second and third last paragraph that is the meat and potatoes of this entire thing. So I'm going to read it out to you because there's going to be another publication that says, oh, no, they didn't call for this, when in fact, you can read it for yourself. So it reads, consensual sex conduct, irrespective of the type of sex activity and the gender, the orientation, the gender identity, the gender expression of the people involved with their marital status, may not be criminalized in any circumstances. That's what they're calling out for. Consensual same sex as well as consensual different sex relations or consensual relations between transformers, non-binary, blah, 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 all these things, whether outside of marriage, whether premarital or extramarital, may therefore never be criminalized. Now, why they are saying that is because I believe they are more so pointing towards those countries that are actually, ingrained with their religious laws. And they have made those religious laws their governing laws as well. So therefore, things like this, premarital, extramarital relations would be criminalized. Okay, so that's what I believe they're talking about, but I could be wrong. Now let's move down. With respect, so that we're talking about the idea of decriminalizing this whole act between adults and who. With respect to the enforcement of criminal law, any prescribed minimum age of consent to what must be applied in a non-discriminatory manner. Enforcement may not be linked to the sex or gender of the participants or age of consent to marriage. Okay, this is it right here. Moreover, sex conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual in fact, if not in law. Okay, let me pause there because this part is important, okay? Let me tell you what they're saying here. This is how I interpret it personally. So they're saying the act, okay? The act of that between an adult and a child basically is what they're saying, because it's saying the persons, look at how they change the language to persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age, okay? They're talking about children. May be consensual. So they're saying, hey, that act actually might be consensual. Like the kid actually probably consented, which is non-existent. That can't happen. Okay. Kids cannot do that. Okay. So that's the first sentence here. I'm going to continue on just so you have the entire contextual text of this entire paragraph. So you know that I'm not cutting you off. This is what they have written. So it continues. In this context, the enforcement of criminal law should reflect the rights and capacity of the persons under 18 years of age, basically children, okay? In this context, the enforcement of criminal law should reflect the rights and capacity of the child, okay? That's what this means, of the person under 18 years of age. Yeah, the child. The rights and capacity of the child to make decisions about engaging in consensual sex conduct and their right to be heard in matters concerning them. Okay? That says a lot. They're basically saying children should be able to consent. That's what they, in my personal, the way I'm reading this, that's how I'm reading it. Pursuant to their evolving capacities and progressive autonomy, persons under the age of 18, so children, pursuant to their evolving capacities and progressive autonomy, children should participate in decisions affecting them with due regard to their age, maturity, and their best interest, with specific attention to non-discrimination guarantees. Okay. So they talk about consent again. Now, the reason why I read this verbatim, is because there are these big time publications like the Associated Press that are trying to defend the UN from this, where they're saying things like UN report did not call for decriminalizing what between adults and who. Okay. Once again, isn't it so sad that I don't even have to fill in the blanks for you and you already know what I'm talking about? So they basically made up this word salad like, oh, this is why, blah, blah, blah. This is not what they meant, when really we read it word for word. Okay. This is what they said. This is verbatim. Okay. Now, I wanted to show you guys also some things that historically the UN and their partnering organizations have done in the past. So this is nothing new. Now, let's take a look at this, okay? Now, I did this video, I want to say 2019. If you guys go to @NatalieDenise.com, that's my website. All these videos are available to you for free, okay? You go to @NatalieDenise.com. All of these are available for free. You just scroll to the very bottom. It's this video right here that says Global SEX Ed or GROOMING. You want to click on that video. This is 43 minutes long, but what I'm going to mention right now, I break it down in this video, okay? This was like a few years ago. So once again, completely evident that the UN has been doing this stuff. Now, the document that I overview in this video is by UNESCO, the United Nations, what is it called? The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Now, remember I said, look at that pinwheel. Okay. That pinwheel is a part of an agenda. Now, this is an international technical guidance on SEX education. Okay. And I'm not going to go through the intricacies of this. I just want you to see how formatted it is. It's basically laid out like an educational document, formatted, and all these really fancy things. It's very organized, but really the things that they are talking about is it's quite alarming. Now, not so much this version, but in the video, I also go into their earlier version of this, which is 2009 publication, where they actually give specific ages, like, kids age from 5 to 8 should be able to themselves. I'm not kidding you. It literally says that in their older version of this document. Okay. Now, there is some other things that I cover, such as this organization here, which is known as the IPPF. I believe, and I haven't rewatched my video, but I believe what I did discover is that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation actually might have worked with this organization. Don't quote me on that. I'm not saying that for fact. I'm trying to recover my memory. But anyway, the IPPF stands for the International Planned Parenthood Federation. I have no idea I haven't looked that deep to see if there's a connection between our American Planned Parenthood, but that's what that acronym stands for. Okay. Now, in this document, though, this document is really messed up and troubling. Okay. At surface level, at facade, you see it at face value. It looks like this really fun, young, youthful, educational document. You see the stock silhouettes and all this. Second page, you can see stock models that are very young. They look like tweens. And they're basically talking about SEX as Young People's Guide to S Rights and IPPF Declaration. Okay. Now, let me make something very clear. It's different when you are educating your youth, whether it is your own children or if it's your niece, your nephew, your grandchildren, whatever, right? You're a guardian, you have to educate them on the birds and the bees. It's completely different. Okay. I understand there has to come a time where you have to educate your young one about that time, right? Or about what that process looks like, or not looks like, but like I'm talking about like the organs that are involved, like the ovaries and right? Like you have to actually educate them on how things work. I don't know if I'm articulating myself right. That's different is what I'm trying to say. If you're educating them on like, listen, we got to talk about this because you're coming upon a young lady, a young man, you got to know about this, right? But this is completely different. This is talking about like rights, sex rights. Like you're a young person, you're a child, you have rights to your, this nature and all that. Like for instance, I'm going to jump to page 5 here. Why a guide on rights? It says young people are this organization partners up with the UN, which is why I'm bringing it up. Young people are beings. They have needs, desires, fantasies, and dreams. Okay, look at the child on this look at the model. Does she not look like 11, 12, or 13 years old? Why are they talking about desires, fantasies, and dreams? This is an older publication, guys. This is nothing in 2023. This is like, I think like 2011, 2013, maybe 2015, something like that. But this is what they were saying back then. Okay, so how dare you, Associated Press, tell us, no, they're not trying to decriminalize it. That's not what they're calling for. When, they basically work with these types of organizations in the past talking about, children and their life. Okay, so then it continues on. It says, it is important for all young people around the world to be able to explore, experience, and express their sexualities in healthy, positive, that word, okay, and safe ways. This can only happen when young people's sex rights are guaranteed. What does that mean? Sex rights guaranteed for children? Like, what does that mean? Okay, you see how vague and not clear it is? Now, I'm going to jump down to this page down here. I'm telling you, this whole thing is just so completely messed up. And, also another reason is because, third world countries, African nations have actually complained about Bill and Melinda Gates being independent activists is what I'll say, have complained about this because, Bill and Melinda Gates, people from the West are coming to their countries and they're basically propagating these agendas. And they're like, yo, that's not part of our culture. Like, we don't teach our kids and our youth that this is okay and things like that. And they're like taking these things from the West and trying to inject it into their culture. Listen to this. This is page 21 of this document. The right to privacy. Okay. What do you guys know anything about GROOMING? Do you guys know anything about that process? Because what I can tell you, part of that process is isolation, is secrecy. And so when a person is trying to isolate or keep things secret between them and the victim, they basically try to separate them from their advisors, their loved ones, their family, so that way they don't get any other ideas in their ears. Okay. So I mentioned that for a reason, because this document over here is saying the right to privacy. That's how they're going to facade this. All young people have the right to privacy and make autonomous decisions about their life privately, and all young people have the right to decide if, when, and whom they share information about their sex choices without forceful interference from other people. Okay. Once again, very vague. When they say young people, what do they mean? They don't give age ranges or anything. They're just very vague about it. Now, this is the part that's messed up. So they're talking about you shouldn't have to tell anybody about your sex life. Like, you should be able to keep that private. Okay. They're not nuancing for other scenarios, like young people who get exploited, that have to tell adults. This is, once again, very dangerous. And then on top of that, yes, it gets worse. They're talking about keeping it secret. And then this second bullet point here where it says privacy and confidentiality of information about a young person's sex behavior, orientation, HIV status, use, history of sex transmitted infections, and then preg or the A word. Okay. So they're basically saying, like, you as a child, because they're not specifying what age in this older document, should be able to keep your HIV status out of all of this, right? Not that any of this is even any less worse, but HIV status, they're saying you should be able to keep that a secret or not disclose that piece of information because that's your privacy. Okay. Oh, and here's another thing right here. The right to personal autonomy and recognizes an individual before the law. Once again, I want to actually go back to the front page. I want to know when this was published. When was this published? I don't have a date of when this was published. I think it was like in the 2010s, like the early 2010s. You guys catch what you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here, right? Let's go back to this one. The right to personal autonomy and to be recognized as an individual before the law. Look at this. Recognition, protection, and fulfillment of a young people's legal rights at all times, no matter their age, gender, or sex orientation. No matter their age. Freedom to explore one's sexuality in a safe and that way, irrespective of the orientation or identity. Okay? They've been pushing for this for a long time. And then there's further down, I specify it in that video on my website. But look at this. Look at this. They basically talk about having the AIDS illness and having, relations with other partners and, that was okay and things like that, like just normalizing these types of things. So anyway, I know this is kind of a tangent, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. This is nothing new. The UN, all these people, they've been doing this, okay? They've been propagating this for a long time. There's documentation to back it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How did you know about this? Did you know that they've been doing this? Let me know what you know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for your support and your love. I love you all. I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.